Alright, we're on. Yes, we're on. And action. You know what? I don't have the energy for this album review. Do not have the energy for this album review. This album just drained me. It really did. Imperial Triumphant and the album Alphaville. That's what we're reviewing today. It may be a completely different video because this is going to be a short and sweet video. I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I thought about this album. Imperial Triumphant is a band that I haven't been really into, and I listened to their other album, Vile Luxury. Now this album, they move on to more of that avant-garde style, and it's very dissonant and it's an acquired taste. And what can I say about this album is that this album is all over the place, and I'm looking at these reviews, reading the reviews and seeing 5 stars and even 4 fucking stars, and all I hear listening to this album is that it's a dissonant mess. With all the noise and racket, they call it jazz. I just call it noise. And in songs such as Excelsior and Swine, there's just no cohesive moments on this album. And this is why I'm going to be brutally honest in my album review today. I thought Alphaville was a bad album. I just can't really get into avant-garde metal. Certainly you probably thought that I would actually enjoy this album, but I didn't enjoy this album. I was listening to this album with my mate as well. He couldn't actually finish listening to this whole album, and we moved to something else. But of course I continued to listen to this album today, listened to it a few times, and I tried to enjoy it, but I just couldn't. Now, the album kicks off with a song called Rotted Futures, which was one of the singles off the album. In Discovery, I said it was a pretty good song. It's got some jazzy elements along with different odd time signatures with a big wall of sound. But what I don't really enjoy is the overall production on this album. It's very murky at times, and the guitars are very different in tone. With the different odd time signatures throughout Rotted Futures, it leads on to a song called Excelsior. Now, Excelsior reminds me of such an absolute dissonant mess. The vocalist on this album is pretty good. Like, I don't mind the vocals. The vocals are demonic, they are deep, and at times they incorporate some visceral, emotional moments throughout this album. But what does it for me is the instrumentals. I mean, it sounds like they are playing different songs. They sound like they are playing 5 different songs in one song. I just can't really get into that sort of avant-garde style. Great elements of techno death metal, prog death metal, black and death metal at times, and even elements of black metal throughout Excelsior. What is probably one of the most interesting moments is Swine, which is indeed probably one of my favourite songs off the album. To just hear him scream City Swine, City Swine, City Swine with that really nice chord progression, that was an enjoyable song. Of course, this was another jazz fusing song by this band, but to me it just doesn't work. It really doesn't. This is where this album to me is pretentious. It feels like at times it's complete wankery. But then the album gets slightly worse in my opinion. Certainly there are certain odd time signatures. What is an interesting song, or what a song that I actually did enjoy halfway through, was the Transmission to Mercury. This is a good song. It's a good song by this band. Incorporating elements of trombone, some nice piano moments, quite jazzy as well. I do really enjoy his vocals, love the chord progression. The album gets slightly better in tone, and Alphaville comes along. Again, it's another dissonant mess, and I didn't really enjoy this song. And then it leads on to the finale, which is The Greater Good. Didn't bother listening to the 2 other songs because I just couldn't stomach the rest of this album. But they were the bonus tracks, and I think they were also the cover versions as well. So overall, this album is a huge letdown for me. It really is. This is one of the most anticipated albums of the year for a lot of people, and a lot of people say this is a masterpiece. I think this is a shit piece. I gotta be really honest, I didn't enjoy this album, and for this I'll give this a 2 out of 10. The things they say, jazz just sounds like noise. It may be avant-garde, but certainly there are better avant-garde metal bands out there. They sound like Ulcerate at times. It's because of a really bad version of Ulcerate and a really bad version of Death Spell Omega. If you listen to Ulcerate, they're much more cohesive. You listen to this, they're less cohesive, and it's just a huge fucking racket. So a 2 out of 10 it deserves. And yeah, comment below if you disagree with my opinion. There's going to be a few comments because this is a very popular, well-liked album, and I'm always honest with my review, and to be honest, I didn't really enjoy this album. But I do appreciate the musicianship, but it still gets a 2 out of 10. What I can say is this is an acquired taste. I'm still going to recommend you this album. If you like this kind of music, if you like shit music like this, I'll still recommend it to you. But at the moment, I just can't get into it. It's got a 2 out of 10. Protest the Hero is going out of the worst albums of the year, and this is coming fucking in. So guys, that's all I have for you, and I will see you in the next one.